Hi, my name is Sandra Adeyemi, and I'm a person working in corporate aviation. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about why flight attendants quit 1 year after they start their jobs. If it's something that you're interested in, please stay tuned and watch till the end. So, I'm going to be talking about 5 things, and I'm going to start with the first one: unrealistic expectations versus reality. What is the unrealistic expectation? The unrealistic expectation is you think it's the glamour. It's all about travel, layover, and you spend dollars and what you see on social media. Let me tell you that all that you see on social media is just the surface level of what the job actually entails. The reality is you're going to wake up at odd times. You can actually wake up at 3 a.m. for a flight. You can sometimes wake up as early as 1 a.m. depending on the airline that you're working for. I mean, a um, it's not standard that you wake up at 3 a.m. But an international airline that has a departure time of 5 a.m., obviously the crew will have to report like 2 hours before the departure time. So which means you have to get to the airport, to the aircraft at least around 4 before the passengers come. So this is the reality of what the job entails. But what the flight attendants on social media are showing you, they're just showing you that they're in London today, they're in Geneva tomorrow, but they're not showing you the work they had to do to get to Geneva. Remember that you're going to be serving a lot of passengers. So that is the reality. The reality is the work involved in being a flight attendant. Because as a flight attendant, you're a security officer, you're a nanny, you provide service, in-flight service, emergency, you attend to emergency situations. All this has nothing to do with the glamour that you see. So that is the unrealistic expectation versus the reality. The second reason why some people quit in the first year of resuming job is the physical and mental fatigue. Yes. To be honest with you, the flight attendant job can take a toll on you physically. And the reason is because you stand for long hours. Yes. How do you stand for long hours? You stand during boarding. If you're boarding passengers, you are going to be standing all through. And remember that you're boarding, at the same time you're boarding, the passengers are coming into the aircraft, they're walking into the aircraft, you're expected to be smiling and welcoming to the passengers. And it's not just one person. At the same time, other people are boarding. You also have to attend to people with reduced mobility, mother with infants. All these you are going to do standing up. And after that, after boarding, after takeoff, you stand for long hours to provide in-flight service. So the flight attendant job on its own takes a toll on you physically. And that's why even when you get the job, one of the first things they do is get your medicals to be sure that you are physically fit for the job, because it makes you stand for long hours. Not only standing, because you also have to go bend to take some things from the trolley. At some point, when you do the job long enough, you're going to have back pain. So this is what the physical and the mental fatigue is: the fact that if you do not take time to rest, at some point it will start to affect you mentally. You will not be able to make decisive decisions, and you start to take things personally. Remember that when you, as a flight attendant, when you're aboard, whatever it is that the passenger does to you is not to you personally, but it's to the airline, and you are the brand ambassador of the airline. So when mental fatigue sets in, you tend to get angry at the slightest things. You will not be able to work as a team with your colleague. So it's very important that you take your rest period seriously. And that's why even in aviation, there's something they call flight duty period, because mental fatigue is real. It's even it goes hand in hand with the physical. So that's why you see I said the second point is the physical and mental fatigue, because it can take a whole toll on you. The job can. So that is why we always tell you it's not as glamorous as you think. Another reason why some flight attendants quit in the first year is strict company policies. Now, every airline has his or her policies. From the moment they give you your employment letter, it's best you read your employment letter before you sign it. Don't, out of excitement of getting a job, just sign, or you just look at the salary range without looking at other things attached to your employment. There are some policies that will tell you that you cannot get married or get pregnant, even if you eventually get married. Some company policies are not family friendly. There are some that will tell you until you have worked for 3 years before you can start having kids, until you have worked for 2 years before you can apply for leave. These are little things that are all, it's in your employment letter. So take your time to make sure that you read it and understand it. Don't just look at just the money they are paying you. Some other things come attached to it. There are some that will tell you that until after you've worked for 5 years before you can get certain benefits as a staff. These are all the policies. There are so many policies. I mean, if I start to talk about the policies, are most newbies, because they are just excited about, oh, I'm going to fly, I'm going to become a cabin crew. They forget that part. And when those things that they want to do in their own personal life start to show up, they now realize that, oh, I didn't see that part in my employment letter. And so at that point, you will have to choose between what personally or what you sign that you're going to adhere to with the company that's employing you. So be very careful when you're signing your employment letter, because every company has its policy, and it's your job to make sure that you understand those policies and also make sure those policies work with your future goals. The next one I'm going to talk about is exhausting schedules. According to the law, you shouldn't fly more than 100 hours per month as a flight attendant. However, some people, by the time they calculate the number of hours they have flown, it can go as far as 120 hours. For me, as a flight attendant, I believe if you even work up to 80 hours a month, that is a lot. That is a lot, and it contributes to physical and mental fatigue. So newbies don't understand this. By the time you now get the job and you now have to start working, you now realize that in a day you are doing up to 6 landings. After you have done the 6, that's for commercial aviation. I'm talking about commercial aviation. In a day, if you're working for a domestic airline, you can do 6 landings today, 6 landings tomorrow, 4 landings. You, like in a week, you might have just one off. And that one day off, you to do, you do it on that day. So in that day itself is not even considered an off day, because that's the only time you have to your own self. So if this continues consistently, at some point they're unable to um, handle it, and so they resign. And I do not blame them entirely, because you can't work and exhaust yourself. If you're doing an international flight, I feel that if there's a layover of over 6 hours, there should be a 24 hours rest. Because it takes, I mean, it's 6 hours flight, like, let me give an example. Lagos to London, 6 hours, 30 minutes, it's 24 hours rest. But some people have this layover and it's 12 hours rest. But like I said, every company has its own policy, and it's your job to find out about this. Don't get so carried away with the fact that, oh, I'm going to get to travel to Lagos, I'm going to travel to London, I'm going to travel abroad, without understanding certain things that will work. And they only see these things by the time they start working, by the time your roster comes out, by the time, not only just your roster, because you can look at the roster, and if you're a newbie, you're excited. But by the time you have worked for 3 months doing this particular route, you now realize that, oh, this route is not going well with me. At some point, some people struggle with jet lag. Some people have this lack of sleep because of time zone, difference in time zone. You left Lagos you left a particular country in the morning. By the time you arrive in the country, in the other country is maybe another morning. And at that time, maybe you're the type that falling asleep during the day is difficult for you. And so you struggle. A lot of flight attendants, especially international flight attendants, they struggle with jet lag. Some are lucky, but there are very few of them that don't struggle with jet lag, but most struggle with jet lag and lack of sleep. And lack of sleep contributes to mental fatigue because you need a certain amount of hours of sleep to be able to work, to be mentally fit. So these are the things that they find out and they're unable to cope with. And the last but not the least, isolation and relationship strain. Yes, being a flight attendant will make you not attend a lot of events. You're not going to be, it's not, if you're the religious type, you are not, it's not every Sunday you'll be able to go to church. You need to be okay with that before you become a flight attendant. Please let me tell you ahead. You need to be okay with that before you become a flight attendant because you cannot go and meet operations and say, I've not gone to church for a long time. Oh, please don't get, no. It doesn't work that way because it's part of the things, part of what comes with a job. Not that you will not go to church, but you cannot determine what your roster is going to be like. You can only hope that Sunday is an off day for you so that you can have time to go to church. But I thank God, let's thank God for technology because with technology, we can actually go online to church, but there's difference between online church and physical church, obviously. However, you need to come to terms with that you're not always going to be available. And if you're in a department, your department needs to also understand the kind of job that you do. I always say it, not everybody understands this job. I've been in this for over 10 years and I've come to a conclusion. People just look at you and, oh, you're a flight attendant, but very few understand the job. And so when you join a certain group they don't understand why you're not always available. Some will even think maybe you don't have time for any other thing. They build up opinions according to their own experience, which is no fault of their own. So, relationship-wise, I always tell ladies, date a man who understands the job. I always tell guys, date a lady who understands the job. It's very important. I cannot stress this enough. I'm not saying somebody that knows who a flight attendant is. Somebody that knows the job description of a flight attendant. You're not always going to be available for every event. So most times, flight attendants are always buying Ashwebi because they know that they are not going to be available. And even if they're going, if it's more like, anyway, let me just cut it short there. However, there's a form of isolation in that if you do a route to an international country, and maybe the crew for that day are not your people, it means you're only going to enjoy that layover all by yourself. That's where the isolation comes in. Some people are very good at being alone. For me, I know how to stay on my own. It's not a problem, but some people don't, and it's nothing bad. Some people only glow when they're around others. And so if you do a flight with people that are not your people, you will feel lonely in that layover. And that layover will end up not being interesting for you if you're the type that glows only around people. So I hope with these few points of mine, I've been able to convince you and not convince job description of being a flight attendant and to also understand why some flight attendants leave after 1 year. Stay blessed.